Hello everyone, welcome to this video, and this video is sort of a follow-up to the previous video I did reporting on the Disney-Sony fallout and Spider-Man no longer being in the MCU officially as of right now. And yeah, in the previous video I covered sort of the major sort of ramifications of the deal falling out and Spider-Man not being in the MCU anymore, but I didn't really cover exactly whose fault was it really that the deal is no longer going through. I touched upon it a little bit, but that's what I really want to focus on this video right here, is that who's really at fault for this deal sort of not coming through and sort of falling out between both companies. So we got to go back and look at the original deal between Disney and Sony. And the original deal is that Sony kept, in terms of the standalone Spider-Man movies, Sony kept all the profit from those, and Disney received all the profits from the merchandising. And then it should be noted that Sony did not receive any profit from the films that were not standalone Spider-Man films that Spider-Man was in. So the movies, Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, those are all films Spider-Man was in, but those were pure Disney Marvel films that Sony did not receive any profit from. But of course, the films like Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, Sony received all the box office revenue from those films, and Disney only received the merchandising revenue from all of that. So it seemed that both sides were pretty happy with the deal, and the deal was working out great for fans. But the contract, when it came to the deal, was coming towards an end, and now was the time to sort of renew things. And sort of Disney and what they were asking for right now, because it was really sort of their touch that sort of saved the Spider-Man franchise after Sony was just doing really bad with it with Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, Disney was saying, all right, we're the ones that have been sort of injecting a new life into this franchise. We want sort of a larger share. And instead of sort of a 5% co-financing share that they originally have, they wanted sort of a 50-50 stake in sort of the box office for solo Spider-Man films. And in addition to that, what's being reported, they wanted creative control over sort of Sony's sort of spin-off stuff that they've been doing, like the Venom film, the Kraven the Hunter film, the Morbius stuff, the potential Black Cat and Silver Sable movie, Silver and Black they were going to do. Disney sort of wanted to say creative control in that. And Sony basically said, whoa, that is way too much. We are not going for that. And the standoff between the sides just came to a head, and they sort of backed out on the deal, each one. And that's how you got the news of Spider-Man not being in the MCU anymore. So now it begs the question, whose fault is it really? And when we look at this information, the way it's been presented, as of right now, it is clear that it is sort of Disney's fault for this deal sort of falling through, or the falling out between these two companies, because asking for a 50-50 share is ridiculous. You've got to know, people have to know that Spider-Man is Sony's sort of main franchise. It's what they have. Sony, they have what, James Bond, they have what, like Angry Birds and Jumanji, but Spider-Man is their number one cash cow for the last 2 decades. When you're talking about the Raimi films and coming into this new sort of MCU era. So to ask for sort of like a 50-50 share in what Sony's like number one franchise, the franchise that they absolutely need, that's honestly really kind of ridiculous on the part of Disney. Now, I can understand Disney asking for a larger share. I really can. Because like I said, it's been Disney and Marvel Studios that have really sort of saved the Spider-Man brand, brought it up to that new level, to the point where you get Spider-Man Far From Home, which has made over $1 billion. And besides just the box office, all the fans love this new incarnation of Spider-Man. His interactions in the MCU, his new role, it's just been great. So I can understand them asking for a larger share just because the deal has gone, really, really well. And so apparently what's been reported is that Sony sort of said, okay, we'll give you guys a larger share. How about 70-30? 70-30% split share. And if that's a deal that they were offering, then that is a more than fair enough deal right there. A 70-30 split for movies that Disney is not financing in any way, yet they still receive 30% profit from the box office. I mean, that's just a terrific deal. And you're talking about a 30% share. I mean, you're talking about movies now that are pretty much guaranteed to do over $1 billion when you look at how Far From Home is doing, coming off of the success of the MCU and Endgame overall. You're talking about movies that you're receiving 30% share of just like free money. So that would be like a what, $300 million just into Disney without doing any work besides sort of the creative stuff that Kevin Feige and producing and all that stuff. That is a great deal. So unfortunately, I think as much as I love Disney, I work for Disneyland, I got a huge Disney collection, I love all things Disney, it is clearly their fault that this deal has not gone through. And I guess the reason I was sort of mad at Sony in my previous video is that I've seen the stuff that they do when they have Spider-Man by himself. And when thinking about that, that's why I was really angry at Sony in the previous video, because I'm all like, ah, no, man, I saw Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. I saw Venom. I saw Spider-Man 3. Y'all, when it comes to Spider-Man by yourself, you were clearly fucking them up. So that's why I was really mad at Sony in the previous video. And regarding the whole boycott Sony thing, I think the reason why I brought that up in my previous video, supported it, and why a lot of people are supporting it is because it's a lot easier to boycott Sony than it is to boycott Disney. I mean, boycotting Disney, what, you're not going to watch any Marvel movies? You're not going to watch any Star Wars movies? You're not going to watch their Pixar stuff? You're not going to watch their just regular animation stuff like Frozen 2 or Wreck-It Ralph? There's no way you can boycott Disney. But you're not going to go to the theme parks? I don't think so. So I think that the reason why that gains a lot of steam is the fact that you just can't boycott Disney. But it is a whole lot easier to boycott Sony. Now, if this deal, if things are going to stay as it is, I definitely won't be seeing any sort of the standalone Sony Marvel stuff. So I will still be boycotting that. But I think that's clearly the reason why people are saying boycott Sony and not boycott Disney. Because you really cannot boycott Disney in any fashion. It's just all like, you just wouldn't be able to watch movies. I mean, when you add the 20th Century Fox stuff, that's how it's sort of gone down. So even though it's clearly their fault, it's really sort of at this point not possible to boycott Disney. And so that's kind of how things are right there. Now, it was reported later on the day yesterday that deals can still be ongoing, meaning this is clearly not official. I mean, it's not like they're beginning production on the next Spider-Man movie like tomorrow or something like that. Something can still happen, but the fact that this went public clearly is not a good sign. And as I mentioned in the previous video, both studios have a lot to lose if this deal does not come through. The MCU is going to be losing just a major piece, something they were setting up to be the next successor to Tony Stark and someone that would sort of like carry the franchise going for the next 10 years. Now that we don't have Captain America or Iron Man, it would be just like, man, we just lost a major part, even though they got plenty of good franchises going. Spider-Man is clearly the #1 Marvel character, and Sony of course has a lot to lose also, just because like I said, man, without that creativity that Kevin Feige brought into these Spider-Man movies and sort of rejuvenating those sort of MCU connections, you're going to be losing a major part what's made this sort of Spider-Man franchise what it is right now. It's going to be really awkward for that next movie when you cannot have any references to his mentor, Tony Stark, which has been a pivotal part of the Spider-Man character that we've seen in these movies. Sort of the larger story of him on the run in the MCU, just those connections with people like Pepper Potts and just Stark Industries. I mean, the two villains that we've seen so far, Vulture and Mysterio, direct connections to the larger MCU, mainly Iron Man. So we're not going to get that anymore. So it's going to be like kind of inconsistent. So both studios have a lot to lose when it comes to this deal not going through. So to sum things up, the main point of this video, I definitely have to blame Disney for this deal not going through. I think a 70-30 split is more than fair, and hopefully both sides can come back to the negotiation table to make something happen, because the deal just makes too much sense for both sides, and if they don't go through with it, it's going to really hurt both studios, in my opinion. So that's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you for watching.